is doing some really weird, clingy, staticky shit to my face. I hate that. There we go. Hey guys, I am back. Friendly Neighborhood Witch is back. Sorry it took so long for that to actually happen. I feel like I have not done a video in forever and I feel much better now that I'm actually doing one. In today's video, it is going to be a little bit of an update, but mostly I'm going to be introducing you guys to my scale baby family. Those of you who have actually been here may know that I have made a video strictly for my first snake I got, but I haven't really done one for any of the rest of them. Before we get into this, let me just give you guys a little update. Things here are not great, but they're not as bad. And I will get more into that situation in a different video. Not happening today. Please excuse that sound. That was my bathtub. Without further ado, let's get into my scale babies and do a little update on them because my family has grown. I think I'm gonna work this from the ones I got first and move on to the ones that I recently got, or the one I recently got. So let's get into it, shall we? So the first snake that I ever got was my baby Loki. He's a little bit mad at me right now because he was in the bath soaking. He is in shed right now, so he's a little bit grumpy, but making me nervous with how you being right now. I will say I have never been bit by any of my snakes, but Loki was my first. Say hi, bud. Say hi. You see the camera? Loki definitely does live up to his name. He is very mischievous and he loves the camera, oddly enough. He loves being in front of the camera. Like if I put him up, he'll just like, see, he just goes straight for it. Now Loki is about 3, I think, and he is a pastel yellow belly ball python. Sounds really fancy, but they kind of have that normal look like most of the normal morphs do for ball pythons. He's honestly, he's my favorite. He's got this thing where he's a goof. He loves to climb. He loves to be on my head. I don't know why he thinks that it is his job to be a hat, but it is. He's just a really mischievous, goofy, energetic snake. The reason why I got him honestly was because I was holding him when I was talking to my breeder and I was looking at getting a snake, and before I even knew it, he had crawled into my cleavage and had just kind of set up shop. I was like, yep, I guess he's mine. And he will get probably about 5 feet, which I know sounds really big, but right now he's about almost 3 feet. Hello, puppy. Hello. He likes getting on my glasses, and I don't understand where that comes from, but he did that when he was little. He likes to get like in between my skin and my glasses, and he will just push my glasses off my face and just chill there. He's never bit. He has been a dream baby. He's my little love ball. So that is my baby Loki. You're so funny. The second snake I ever got in my collection is my big daddy boy, Odin. As soon as I saw him, I immediately had to hold him, and he crawled right into my curls and got caught. And he is like his brother. He loves the camera. I don't know why my snakes love the camera, but they do. What are you doing? But I think he's actually older than Loki. I think he is about maybe 4. I'm not sure. He was an interesting one. When I got him, my breeder told me that he was female and he had a completely different name. Well, then he started rubbing up against Chris's female ball python, and I was like, can snakes be lesbians? I don't think they can. So we went and got him sexed again, and he was in fact a boy. Odin is a champagne fire ball python. He is just absolutely gorgeous. He's got these beautiful yellow and kind of spotted markings. And he's actually, if you look, he's got like this weird thing on his eye where it looks like he's always frowning. He's his own character. He thinks that which is a reason why whenever I did change the name, I was like, Odin, because he thinks he is the ruler of everything. He thinks he is the king. He likes to pretend, I make the joke all the time that he thinks he's an anaconda, because he always will get at the top of the tank and have his front half just like leaning down like he's watching over his kingdom. He's just so funny. He's a really sweet snake, and I think he's actually a little bit cold. That's why he's wrapping around me right now. I turned the heater on, and he was in the tank too, in the water. I think everybody's kind of going through a shed. That is my second baby that I have, and he is such a beautiful king. And you know it, don't you? I love my guys. My most recent addition to my scale baby family has been this little sweetheart. This is Khaleesi. She is a blue-eyed leucistic. I can never say it right. I always just call him a blue-eyed Lucy. This is kind of really what she does. She, I've noticed, is a very shy girl. I think she's particularly young. I want to say she's maybe about a year, but you can kind of see her little face. She's just really, really shy. She's just like, she's my delicate little thing. But I have a feeling she's going to live up to her name, and she is going to end up being the queen of my snakes. But once you start to actually like handle her and hold her a bit and kind of get her out of her shell, then she's really active, and she likes to crawl all over my chest. There we go. There's that pretty girl. And if you look closely, she does in fact have blue eyes. Yeah, she is a very beautiful baby. She's just a little bit shy, and she's also the most expensive snake in my collection. Blue-eyed Lucies, especially females, are not cheap. Luckily, I have a really good breeder who is awesome and cut me a very good deal on her, and she's been an absolute dream. See? All of my snakes like the camera. They're like their mama. They want to be little superstars. What I will say with white snakes is that every little mark I see on her, I get a little bit freaked out just because it's so easy to see. And you can kind of tell she got a little bit, if I can get her to turn her neck, like right there, you see that little mark right there on her neck? She got that a little bit when I was feeding. Now I will say, and I know there's probably going to be some herp Nazis out there that are going to tell me, you should never feed your snakes live, you shouldn't feed them live. I agree. I would not feed them live if I had any other choice. I have tried to switch them to frozen thawed, and they didn't take it. But as soon as I threw live in there, they ate it, no problem. Yes, I don't like it. I would prefer if they would eat frozen thaw, but you know, what can you do? That's just how they were raised. That's how my breeder does it. So, you know, I'll do whatever they want me to do, whatever is in the best interest for them, whatever they prefer. Now, I will say whenever I do feed them, I watch them extremely closely and make sure they get a good strike. And I thought she had gotten a good one on this one, and I didn't notice until later on that she had that little mark on her neck. But it'll go away with her next shed or two. So it's not anything bad. I take them to the vet like crazy to get them checked out because I am not in any way an expert on reptiles. Like, it's not like with dogs and cats, like, oh, you can obviously tell they're sick, but reptiles are completely different. You don't really know until it's kind of bad. Now she's out of her shell. Now she's crawling around. Now she's kind of being a little bit curious. She's just so pretty, you guys. Like, I've wanted one of these for so long, and especially a female, and I could not be happier. She's definitely not like Loki. She's happy just curling into a ball and laying in my lap, whereas Loki wants to be all over me, all over my head. I think she is also about to go on shed. Her eyes are starting to look a little bit cloudy, so Yeah, I think all of my babies are in shed. Currently, they are all except for Odin and sometimes Loki. It just depends. But for now, they're all eating one adult mouse every Saturday. So they get fed once a week and they're completely good. She will only eat one. Odin usually gets two. He's not quite big enough to get a small rat, but you know, 2 mice will do him fine. And Loki sometimes, I've honestly never had a problem with any of my snakes. A lot of times you hear about ball pythons and they will actually go off of feed. They have a little bit of a dramatic spell and they just don't want to eat. But as long as they're not losing any weight, they don't look like they're sickly, there's obviously, you know, nothing ill with them, they're fine. It's just they're ball pythons, that's what they do. So Loki went for about 2 weeks without eating once. It's honestly freaks the parents out more than it messes with them. We care more than they care. It's more hazardous to our overall mental being. Just because, you know, you worry about your babies. You want them to be good and healthy. So if they stop eating for whatever reason, it gets you a little bit concerned. So I did have another snake in my collection. She was my youngest, another ball python, and her name was Salem. And unfortunately, recently, she passed away about a week ago. I'm gonna try to get through this part of this video without crying. I find myself crying about it randomly. I'll just think about it and I'll start crying. But I'm gonna try not to. I do want to put a little disclaimer out there. This part of the video will contain some clips of a sick animal and an animal that's obviously not very well. If that bothers you, you can click out of this video now. Thank you guys for watching and making it this far. I don't put it out there to upset anybody, but I put it out there so that people, if they have a ball python or honestly any boyd snake, it really pertains to like ball pythons and Burmese pythons and reticulated pythons, and you might be a little bit concerned that maybe your baby has anything like this, stay tuned. So Salem, I got her in October of last year and she was like a baby. She was a pastel black spider ball python. For those of you that are aware and knowledgeable about ball python morphs, you're probably screaming at me right now. Yeah, I know the spider gene is not that great. And for those of you that don't know, the spider gene in ball python morphs is very well known for having health risks with it. Think about designer bred dogs. Those that are really cute and, you know, are really pretty, if I'm talking about a reptile, really pretty to look at, but they have a lot of health problems that you have to deal with just because they look good. And unfortunately, that was a little bit of a reason why I was a little bit hesitant on getting her. But whenever I saw her and held her, I don't know, I had like a little bit of a bond with her. So I said, fuck it, because she may not have these issues. Common things with spider morphs in ball pythons is what's called the wobbles. Sometimes it's very dominant, and the wobbles are pretty much like you'll notice the snake's head kind of like doing like that. It can make it hard for them to strike their food when feeding. It makes that part very difficult. And in some ball pythons with the spider morph, it's not so dominant. But they do have a lot of health risks. Their immune system is not that great. And because of that, if they get anything like a respiratory infection or anything like that, it could be a lot worse for them versus your other ball python. So I noticed that something was wrong when she had gotten a respiratory infection. I took her to the vet. To me, it looked like a respiratory infection. Respiratory infection in snakes, especially ball pythons, you really won't notice they have it until like, you can kind of like feel it if you hold them and they kind of sound like, you know when you have a cold and you're like you feel that kind of vibration? That's kind of what it is for them. And also you may notice bubbles in their mouth, in their nostrils, and and they'll have their mouths open for a long time, just like because just they're trying to breathe and they can't. So I took her to the vet thinking that's what it was, because I did see bubbles and I really thought it was a respiratory infection. And the vet said she was dehydrated. So he did give her antibiotics. So I took her home, gave her medicine, put a lot of water in there, put a lot of humidity in there. But then I started noticing that she was doing what they call stargazing. Stargazing in snakes is when usually they'll have their heads up and it looks like they're kind of in a trance, just sticking their head straight up, kind of wobbling from side to side. And she started doing that, which was really concerning, but I also didn't know if that was a part of the spider gene or if it was something else. And then it started getting really bad. She started not being able to breathe. She's like not breathe well anyway. She was really like, it just didn't look good. I took her to the vet again. We'd get to where when she stargazed, she would just fall over onto her back. And usually with ball pythons, if any snake, they fall onto their back and they'll roll right back over. She wouldn't do that. She would just lay there. So I would have to reach in and move her over. Also, she did not have a bowel movement for about a week, and I started noticing it. So I've had, like, Loki's had problems like that in when he was younger. So what I did was I put her in a warm tank with warm water, not hot, just, like room temperature. It helps, what it does is it kind of helps them like release that stuff if they're having a little bit of problems. It just helps relax them a little bit. All my other ball pythons, when I put them in water like that, if they've been a little impacted, they kind of freak out a bit. They stay upright. They don't do what she did, which she would just flip flop around like crazy, just doing all this kind of stuff. It looked like she had no balance. Well, then I started doing some research and I called my vet. I said, could this be IBD? Now, for those of you in the herp world, you know what IBD is. For those of you that don't, IBD is inclusion body disease. It's pretty much a death sentence. With inclusion body disease, it is a very viral and unfortunately fatal disease. It can be given from birth, which is most likely how this happened. And the bad thing is that I still don't know if that's what it was, because in the midst of all the drama that's been going on in my normal life, I come home and my mental state's already hanging by a thread, and then I see her in her tank and she's not breathing and she's gone. My mental state just kind of snapped. Like I lost it. I just picked her up and I held her and I cried and I collapsed on the kitchen floor. And I know that sounds so stupid to a lot of people probably, because they're like, it's a snake. And yeah, I get it. It's a snake, but to me, I don't want kids. So pets to me are like my children. This has hit me really, really hard because I tried everything I could do, everything I could think of to help her, to make her better, but it just wasn't enough. And again, I don't know if that's actually what it was. He did tell me though, when I called him and said, could this be IBD? And he said, if it is, then unfortunately there's really nothing we can do. There's no cure for IBD. It's best to euthanize them because they won't survive very long. There are medications and like steps you can take to help them live longer, but really it's kind of, to me, it's a little bit selfish because they're just suffering. It affects their nerves and their muscles, and the heart's a muscle. I've seen pictures, and I won't insert any because I just couldn't handle it. If you want to see them for yourself, you can Google it if you're that curious, but I've seen snakes with IBD that are older and they're just locked up and they look like they're in absolute misery. I hate that she's gone. I hate that I couldn't do anything to help her, but I'm glad that she's not in pain anymore. I just hate that she was a little baby and she wasn't able to live a full life. And whenever I talked to my vet, he did say if she does pass, then bring her in and we can do some tests to see what it was. I didn't think about it, and I was stupid at the time. And I put her, it sounds really gross, and I'm sorry, but it's not really that weird to me. I put her in the freezer in like a bag. I didn't think about it, and I called my vet, and he's like, I'm so sorry, but had you put her in the refrigerator, I could have tested something, but I can't test her when she's been frozen. So I won't know if that is what killed her. And I hate that I don't have that much video or photos of her, but most of the time I had her, except for the first few weeks, she was sick. And I didn't want to hold her and stress her out that much. And I didn't want to really take any pictures of her because I had this high hope that she would get better. I really did. The only thing I can say that I learned from this is that I'm not saying that the spider gene is bad, but you have to realize that in the ball python trade, it's a huge market right now, and people are doing extreme things to get these designer morphs where it's like this black pastel spider Mojave desert bullshit. And what they do is they inbreed them like crazy, and it ends up, it's not good for the animal. It's the same thing with dogs. You know, they inbreed these dogs to get these designer dog breeds, and it's terrible. And I hopefully one day people will just stop just seeing what they can do, just trying to play God and just doing little experiments to see what they can possibly get out of it. And they'll actually think about the animals, because I know that there's not all breeders do that. Not all breeders are just breeding because they can and just doing experiments because they can. They actually care, but some don't. And some will just breed and breed and breed and breed and breed until they get this wonderful morph that nobody's seen. But yeah, you did a lot of inbreeding to get there, and that's not good for the animal. If your python and they start showing signs of stargazing, especially as a big giveaway, it doesn't necessarily mean that they have IBD, but definitely if your snake starts showing signs of that, I would go get to your vet immediately and get that tested. There is some of them, there's reason for stargazing that isn't IBD and they're not fatal. But if it is IBD, you definitely want to know, especially if you are someone who keeps your ball pythons in the same enclosure. Not saying that that is bad. I did it for the longest time. It's kind of that thing, you know, one gets sick, everybody gets sick. And with IBD, it's extremely, extremely contagious, especially if they, for some reason, and it happens a lot with snakes, if they get mites and a mite bites the snake that has IBD and then it bounces over and it bites one of your other snakes, guess what? Now they have it. And there's no cure. And it will just spread through your collection like wildfire. But if you do see signs of that, please take your baby to the vet and get them checked, because you may have to make a hard decision. I know that I would have rather actually been there with her to get euthanized versus her being alone when she passed. But at least she's not in pain anymore, and she will forever be my little weirdo baby. And I love her. I'll always love her. I actually plan on doing a wet specimen of her so I can keep her. I know to a lot of people that sounds weird, but you know what? A lot of people also taxidermy their dogs and cats. So I'm just a weird snake lady. So thank you guys so much for watching. I'm sorry the end of this video was a little bit depressing, but you know, everything happens for a reason. Everything has its purpose, and the only thing I can think of is, you know, yeah, she's not with me anymore, but she's also not in pain anymore, and that's more important than me having her with me and her being in pain. So again, sorry if this video at the very end was a little bit depressing, but I hope you guys have enjoyed it. I hope you learned a little bit of some things. If you have any questions or anything, please hit me up in the comments. I would love to answer anything I possibly could. And if you want to see more stuff, because trust me, there's going to be more stuff on this channel and I am quite excited about it. So if you guys would like to see more of this face, please hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell so you can see when I post stuff. Anyway guys, that's it for me. I'm gonna go to bed because it's late. I hope you guys have a really good weekend. By the time this goes up, it'll probably be Easter, so hope you guys have a happy Easter, have a happy spring equinox, happy Ostara, whatever you guys celebrate, have it and be happy with it. I love you guys so much, and I will see you guys later. Bye.